Welcome back to In the Pocket Podcast.
Ciao.
My name is William Ong. Who are you, good sir?
My name is Joe Amadio.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for
having me.
coming. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So normally I start off with the same question, but I'm throwing a curveball in this one because I read something on Facebook.
Oh no.
Ghost Soul Trio, the movie?
Oh.
What's that all about?
No. So it's just a music video.
Oh, okay.
But it's we made a poster in the form of a movie poster.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what's up with bands making movies?
Yeah.
You know, you got the Poser movie with Damn the Witch Siren.
Yeah. No, I don't think that. I think that's my worst fear, is to be one of those bands that like try and like quickly jumps on the train. So if you ever think that's the case with us, it's usually the opposite.
Fair.
Yeah, it's usually
That's
the
fair.
opposite. But like sometimes to a fault. Like we're pretty slow moving. Yeah,
That's
we're pretty
okay.
slow, but
You got to move at your own pace.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a music video.
Get lost in the digital dust.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
They're your smelleries.
That's right.
What was it?
Smelleries.
Smelleries. It was
Smelleries.
smelleries.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking about smell memories.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
inside joke.
Yeah.
There
Inside
it is.
joke. You had to be there.
You had to be
You
there.
had to be there.
Well, okay. I'm gonna revert back to my OG question, my
Hit me.
first number one question
Hit me.
that every drummer should get.
Mhm.
How long have you been playing drums?
Good question. I think I did the thing that I would imagine most folks have done, of just like going into fifth grade band. You got to pick an instrument. And I want to do the drums.
Nice.
Yeah, they wanted me to play the tuba, and my mom said
It's a
no.
fun instrument.
Tuba's cool, but I think I'm definitely not the vibe.
Yeah.
The tuba player.
You're not gonna dot the I in the middle of the game.
Yeah, I feel like all like the tuba players that I knew, they're a personality type,
Yeah.
and they're great.
Yeah.
It's just not my personality type.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I actually have a tuba story. When I went to Bowling Green for my first recording camp, this was like early 2000s, I was bunked up with a tuba player who was also a Grateful Dead fan,
Nice.
and he would play along to Grateful Dead tunes with his tuba.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my new hell.
Yeah. It was
That sounds
not
terrible.
a fun time.
That sounds terrible.
Super nice dude,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, like at the end of the day, you know, you're running all over campus and stuff, and in the studio for like 12 hours, and then you get back to your dorm room, and it's just
Come home to
tuba time, you know.
Yeah. To the Dead folk, Dead fans out there, nothing against the Grateful Dead, but
Yeah.
I think tuba, playing along to any genre of music where it doesn't belong, is just not.
I feel the opposite.
Okay.
I think it's musical exploration, you know,
Yeah,
and
sure.
I think it's fun, and it could be funny too. You know,
It
what I
can
mean?
be.
Have you seen that video where someone took the top of a sax and put it on a flute and
I
played
have
it?
not. No.
Sounds pretty good.
Okay.
It sounds like what's that called? The Kenny G sax. What is that?
Is that soprano?
The soprano. Yeah, it sounds like a soprano sax.
Nice.
Kind of cool.
Nice.
It was a flute. Kind of
That's
weird.
cool. All right.
You know.
All
I
right.
don't know. I'm all about that. The weird combos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Sure. I'm a little loopy.
It's all good.
It's been a day.
Yeah.
So, actually, did you take lessons when you were first starting?
I did.
Okay.
So initially I'm from the Youngstown area, and I studied with pretty legendary teacher in the area. His name was Joe Parlink, who I feel like when I started taking lessons from him, he was already like 80 years old.
Oh, wow.
He was like an older dude.
Yeah.
So I studied with him all throughout high school, and I kind of regret that. Like, I don't regret studying with him, but like when I was in high school, I was very into drums, but I just wasn't really into like, practicing for me was going downstairs and banging on the drum set for 2 hours, which was like cool. And I think that that's important to just like, I think practicing, enjoying the drum set is its own thing, but I never really took Joe's lessons very seriously, and I do regret it, because he was a very brilliant teacher, and taught some pretty high profile drummers.
Yeah.
So I studied with him, and then I spent a year, my first year of college at Youngstown State, and I don't really want to get too much into detail with that because that was a terrible time.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
It was yeah. Just in case those folks are watching,
Mm.
all the people I went to school with were great.
Yeah,
for the most part. I'm getting into it. I said I wasn't gonna get into it.
I didn't provoke it.
Yeah. And then I transferred down to Ohio State and studied with Rupp, and that was that was like
I didn't know you stayed with Rob.
I did. Yeah, I studied with him for
Very cool.
Probably about 3.5 years. I studied with Jim.
You're my second person I've had in here to stay with Rob.
Yeah, I think I saw you Brooklyn.
Yeah, Brooklyn.
And Brooklyn and I were in school at the same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and dude, she was like, Brooklyn was great. She was like, I don't know. I did like a solid 6 hours a day pretty regularly when I was at OSU.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, I would get there and Brooklyn was already there, and then I would leave.
Yeah.
And she was still there.
Oh, yeah.
Every time. I mean, and
I believe it, man. Like, she's been playing for 7 years.
Yeah.
And like every time she tells me that, I'm just like, I can't believe that.
Oh, I can. Absolutely, I can.
Like,
yeah, because
it's just nuts. She's like made so much progress.
Yeah, I absolutely can believe it. Yeah, because she was, and like I didn't like, I wasn't one to go out and like party on the weekends. I'm a pretty boring dude in that regard. So I'd like go to the practice rooms at like 7 p.m. on a Friday and leave at like midnight, 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
and like she was still there. Like,
yeah,
every time.
Yeah,
I'm just like, geez.
I love that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I love
that. It was just like, yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I studied with Jim for 3.5-ish years.
Mm-hmm.
And that was great because he's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
And he's a amazing player, great teacher.
Yeah.
He was the guy that taught me that you can be a nice person and play the drums.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was him.
That's a very hard quality to find.
It is.
You know,
it is.
I try to teach that with my students. Where it's like, I was talking about it today, actually, you know, a few of my students, I'm trying to get them from that transition of just playing, you know, like the idea of it's not what you're playing, but how you're playing it.
Oh, yeah.
And trying to drill that home.
Oh, yeah.
And one example I like to use is that if you talk to like a real musician or not a real musician, but if you talk to somebody that is really into their instrument and you say you see him perform, right? You know this, you hear this all the time. You're probably the same way, where you'll go up to someone, man, you sounded great. That was awesome. Like, yeah, but I messed this up. This up.
Yeah.
Like, those are the people that you should pay attention to because they're sitting there and paying attention to everything, every hit, you know, and we're perfectionists.
Right.
But I always say it's because it keeps you humbled and keeps you realizing that you're still a student.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, you know.
I do.
You
so
know.
I will. So I, not to be that guy that's going to play the devil's advocate because I hate that. It's the worst. The thing that I liked about Jim so much, because I obviously it's you know, like I love critique. I love it. I like when it's genuine. Like it's the best.
Yeah.
But Jim also was able to teach me that like, hey man, it's just music. So like if I play a gig and like I suck, it's just music. Like no one died.
Yeah. That's true.
So it's just like you know, there are those two sides, and I think that there's definitely a healthy balance of like, I don't want to say not caring, but just like not putting too much weight on. So for example, when I was at my first college, I put a lot of weight on wanting to hear other folks' like critiques and criticisms of my playing.
Yeah.
I put a lot of weight on it. You know, that's kind of when Instagram was getting a little bit more popular. So anytime I'd post a video of myself playing, I'd say like, let me know, like if you guys have any critiques or anything, like let me know. And now it's just like, it's not that I don't care, because I know, you know, I've been playing for long enough to know what my weaknesses are and my flaws are, and it's just like it's not that I don't care about other folks' opinions. It's just like, to me, it's just like, it's just music. If I screwed it up, I screwed it up.
Yeah.
And I feel like that has helped like balance that for me.
For sure.
I still do love critiques. Like, you know, it's great, but there is that balance of like putting a lot of weight on folks critiquing you and also just like not.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yes.
I like to say
that's my tangent.
It's like your friend who's really not into music and they send you a drum video that you've already seen a gazillion times.
Yeah.
It's like you appreciate it, but you already know.
Yeah. Thanks,
you know?
Yeah.
I already know.
Great intentions. Intentions are great.
Yeah. Man, I love all that. It's really nice to hear all that, man.
Yeah.
You know, because there's so many people that teach out there that are just kind of full of themselves. I hate to say that, but it's like,
don't hate to say it.
Oh man,
it's true.
It just opens up a can of worms.
It does,
you know.
Yeah,
but it's so true. Like, like I was saying earlier, the whole like just dialing it in kind of thing drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get off of that topic. I could go on for hours. Yeah. Projects wise, what projects do you have? I know Ghost Soul Trio is one. Do you have anything else going on?
Not
music
really.
Wise?
I
know you have your studio.
Yeah, so I've got my studio. And I'm always kind of like,
what's the name of that studio?
It's called Moonlight Audio.
Plug.
Yeah. So I do drum for some of those, but I try to keep the line of like, I'm not a member of this project, but I am playing for it.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the mental energy to commit to actually like being a part of a project right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ghost Soul is my main project. And then I've kind of started another little side project with the bassist in Ghost Soul and kind of another buddy of mine that I've been wanting to work with for a while.
Yeah.
That project doesn't have anything. We've got some music, but it's not out yet. We don't even have a name yet.
Okay.
But that should be coming out very soon.
Yeah.
Very soon. I'm going to start pushing.
I'm pumped for it. I love the Ghost Soul Trio stuff.
Thanks, man.
It's super killer.
Thank you.
And I don't think I've ever asked you about this, but the one thing, I see a lot of drummers, but I don't see a lot of drummers that play the way you do.
Oh,
yeah. Like the grooves and stuff you do. Sure. It's kind of, I would describe it as kind of like melodic pop kind of grooves.
Sure.
What kind of dialed you into that direction? Is that what you're going for, or is that just something that you just kind of natural feel? Or?
Yeah, I guess it might be both.
Okay.
I don't think it's really anything I try for. I just like in general. Don't take this the wrong way. I don't like drummers.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't. So like,
there's a lot to go behind that.
Yeah, there's a lot. So typically like when I like my influences come from like songs.
Yeah.
When I was in college, it was different, but I would like watch a video of like Mark Juliana or like Jeff Ballard and just get like super pumped to play the drums. That's not really the case anymore. I don't remember the last time. So I left school maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And definitely since then I haven't watched a video of a drummer and have been like pumped to play drums.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. I just get that from like, oh man, that's like that is an amazing song or so I think that's probably just where that comes from. I'm just always trying to like not just play a drum groove, and I'm just trying to orchestrate a part.
Yeah.
Because that's just how I listen to music.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
That makes total sense.
So.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I love is melodic drumming.
Yeah.
When there's a groove going on, but there's also a wonderful melody that tags with it. Because like as drummers, we get bagged as, you just keep time.
Yeah, right.
That's all you do. And it's like one of the, I would say, the kind of knife in the side comment, It's like, no, it's way more than that,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think not enough people talk about that.
Right.
And it's kind of a bummer, but it's super refreshing. Like every time I see you, and you rarely post yourself playing
anymore. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. As of recently, but when you did, it was always refreshing. I'd be like, man, what is that? What groove is that? What's he doing there?
Thanks.
It's very cool because it always had that forward driving feel.
Sure.
And I dig that.
Thank you.
It's pretty sick.
Appreciate it.
Well, I gotta ask this question.
Yeah.
even though you don't listen to drummers.
All right. I know where it's going.
Who are your top 5 chefs? No.
Yeah.
Who are your top 5 favorite drummers?
Yeah. Massimo Bottura. No, that's a chef.
We can get into chefs.
No.
I can go top 5 chefs.
So anymore, probably no one.
Really?
Which is weird. But
what about like your earlier years?
Yeah. So if I jump back like
who
5 or 6
are your
years,
early influences? I should
like
say.
5 or 6 years ago, so a dude named Darren King, who's one of my probably my like I think that dude changed like my drumming outlook. He played for a band called Mute Math. And that band, like, so I was really into prog metal in high school, like Dream Theater were my gods.
Yeah.
Like, and I kid you not, I would listen to like 3 Dream Theater albums a day.
Wow.
And if you know Dream Theater, you know that's
heavy.
That's a lot of music. And dude, I was flipping through cable TV. My girlfriend, I still lived with my parents, and my girlfriend was over, and we were flipping through TV channels. And there was a channel called Palladia, and they had a live Mute Math concert on. Oh. And like, dude, I swear to God, like in that moment, it just like flipped. Yeah, everything just flipped.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I like that now. Darren changed my total outlook on drumming.
Yeah.
And I guess when you mention, you know, like melodic drumming or anything like that, I probably get a lot of that from him.
I could see that.
Because his approach is just so much different than so many other drummers. So I loved him, and I still do. I was really into Ian Chang, who plays with Sun Lux.
Yeah.
And I was really into like Ryan Lott's production, because Ryan Lott, who's in Sun Lux, kind of has a lot to do with the whole direction of that band.
Side note, you're the second person to mention Ian Chang.
Nice.
Brooklyn that mentioned.
Oh, nice. Time. Yeah, I love Ian. I met him a couple times. He's a super sweet guy. I actually kind of had a moment with him that was pretty like life-changing for me. Sun Lux was playing actually at the Basement.
Oh, cool.
And I think I had posted like a video on Instagram, and it was just like, can't wait to go see Sun Lux tonight. Like, excited to see Ian Chang. And he saw it, and he like commented on it. And I was like, cool. He commented on my video. Sweet. But it was like a video of the back of my head, right?
Yeah.
Like that was a shot. And when I went to go see him that night, so this was like a really weird point in my life. Just like I wasn't really having fun. In general. You know, like in the throes of school, just like, and just like other stuff, just wasn't, you know, I wasn't really waking up super pumped just to like, you know, it wasn't that dark, but like I just, it was just very gray. It's just like a very great time in my life. And I remember just like that day in particular was just like not a great day. And so I went to go see them, and like after the show, I just like went up. It's like, hey man, big fan. Like, you know, I try not to like fan over people because that can make them uncomfortable. So I was like, hey man, like great show, love your playing, you know, thank you.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're Joe. And I was like, yeah, I am. He I don't know, like he complimented me, and that was like, you know, it's not the really like the compliment that holds weight, because we were talking, you know, but just to have like somebody that I like really respected, like show me some like positivity, was like a huge moment for me, especially in that point of my life. So I have like the utmost regard for Ian. He's great, super sweet dude. So yes, Ian's great, and he's a great guy, which I think is super important in this industry. So Ian's great. Darren King, Ian. I was super into like Mark Juliana and Jeff Ballard when I was in school. I was really into Ari Honig. Familiar with Ari? Super wacky playing. I kind of can't listen to it anymore, but at the time, I mean, he's great. Like he's amazing. I just can't do that style of music anymore.
Yeah.
I was super into Ari.
Mm-hmm.
How many drummers did you ask me to?
Is that 4?
I think that might have been
That's
4 or
5. Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
There are other ones that I
Yeah.
probably
I mean,
have.
if you want to talk about it, you can.
Sure.
I'm not gonna hold you back.
Chris Bear and Grizzly Bear.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Another one of those dudes that's just like the orchestration on his drum parts are just beautiful.
Yeah.
And so Chris is kind of one of those guys that's held his weight all throughout my drumming career. It's always inspiring to listen to what he does because it's just so like, oh yeah, you know what? I would not have thought of doing that.
Yeah.
It's just he's just got such a creative way of orchestrating something.
Yeah.
I might be forgetting some other folks, but
That's okay.
those are all pretty big.
Yeah.
For me.
It's a killer list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah.
They're great.
But not now. Not nowadays.
Yeah, and so the you know,
yeah.
The only reason I say that is again anymore I'm like I can't just like listen to drums.
Yeah.
Because to me it's just like without context they're kind of pointless for like modern drums.
I feel that.
You know, so if we're talking about like, you know, like Haitian voodoo music,
right?
You know, like we're like that is just drums, but it's serving a purpose and it's really important. But to me, just to like hear somebody play the drum set is just like I kind of don't care because there's no context.
I'm the kind of the same way actually. I've gotten more tuned into drummers that like, oh man, this is one thing you'll know about me. I'm horrible with names.
That's okay. Yeah, me too. No, me too.
Me too. Bad with names.
Me too.
But there's a few drummers out there that I do follow, but it's not them just playing drums. They're using like effects, so they're using pedals, you know, and creating all these interesting distorted sounds. Or like arpeggios.
Like Dan Mayo.
Yeah, he's one.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's this guy. I wish I remember his name. He plays bass and he plays keys and drums at the same time.
Nate Wood.
Yeah. Oh
he's great.
God, that guy's amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I would say, you know, and it's really like that. Yeah, like I'm the same way actually. When I think about it, you know, like I love JD Beck.
Yeah.
But I don't like just listening to JD Beck play by himself.
Right.
I want to hear him with Domi.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I actually, you know, I agree with that. It's all about the context.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why like I can't tell you what my favorite drummers are because it's more so like my favorite albums or my favorite.
Yeah.
Just because like I can't.
Well, and you grow.
You do, yeah.
You know,
yeah. And that might change in a couple of years. I might say, yeah, I'm super into this drummer right now.
Yeah.
But like right now and for the past couple of years, it's just been like I kind of don't care about like the drums outside of their musical context.
Yeah.
Because to me it's just pointless.
Makes sense.
For a drum set.
Yeah.
You know, other instruments are other drum instruments are different because but the drum set,
No, I feel that.
Yeah.
So I just had a flashback memory from when I was like a teenager. So when I was really young, I used to listen to a lot of Primus and 311.
Yeah.
Yes, 311.
Mm-hmm.
And
snare drums?
Yeah, Chad Sexton, man.
Yeah.
Well, I was in marching percussion.
Sure.
So like, you know, that sound was like, that's cool. But I watched this 311. It was like their tour doc VHS or whatever. Yeah. And they were talking to this guy that he like outside of the venue. They were playing like, "Hey, you going to see 311?" He's like, "What?" He's like, 311. It's like, "What the fuck is that?" He's like, "It's a band." He's like, "I don't listen to other people's music. I only listen to my music so I can stay original."
Yeah. Nice.
And I'm like, that's sick.
My guy.
You know, it makes sense.
Sure.
You know, you get because it's the whole trying to keep yourself from comparing yourself to others.
Yeah.
Which is tough.
It is.
Especially as a creative. Mm-hmm. It's very tough.
It is. Yeah.
So you do studio work. Like, do you do session work a lot? Do you prefer session work over playing live?
No.
Okay.
I love playing live.
I do too.
I love it. I love it.
I love session work too.
Me too.
You know, I love working with outside. Like, I worked with this band from Australia last month, which was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, And I'm gonna work with them once they're done with those 3 songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Nice.
you know, and they're real cool, and it's always a fun experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, playing live, that's the sauce.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. And even the stuff I hate about it,
Mm-hmm.
like I enjoy.
It's the love, the hate.
You know, like packing up my drums and like, you know, finding a spot to park down by Brothers Drake. I hate it. It's the worst.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's still pretty great.
Yeah.
Like it's great.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know about you, but I always feel kind of this is like young me coming out.
Yeah.
But I always feel kind of cool walking down the street, like far away with all my drum stuff. You know, like yeah. I'm doing cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. People look at you. Like,
yeah, you know.
That guy's a musician.
I know, right?
He must be really poor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he delivered me pizza the other day. And I did. No.
Yeah.
No, but it's just like, I don't know. It's one of those things. I just have those like kind of those moments where I'm by myself. I'm, you know, like whether it's like loading gear or something like that, and I'm just kind of like, you know, yeah, especially if you're like not having the greatest time, you know, like had a bad day or something. It's like, you know, I'd much rather be doing this than something, you know, than something else, you know, and I don't know.
Yeah,
it's kind of nice.
It is nice.
It's nice. It's like when all your hard work kind of paid off, kind of feeling, you know. Especially after all these years, because you know, for a lot of people, it's hard to stay in love with that whole thing. I don't want to bring up his name, but a mutual friend of ours, older gentleman, who's a drummer, he's just kind of burned out with playing shows. He's just like, man, I don't want to play gigs anymore. I don't want to play in a band. I just want to be in my studio, have people come in and play with me. I don't care. If you're going to pay me a bunch of money to play at the Newport, I'll do it. But other than that, I'm not playing at some little bar, you know. And I'm like, you know, and I get that, but in my back of my head, I'm like, man, I hope I never get to that point. You know?
I can understand getting to that point if you're only ever playing little bar gigs.
Yeah.
I can totally get that.
Yeah.
But man, there's just like something about playing on a stage with
big
like
stages,
a crowd of people in front of you.
Yeah.
That's just like,
yeah,
you really can't do that anywhere else doing anything. Like, it's just such its own feeling. And you know, I guess with that being said, some folks might not like that, and that's I totally get it. But you know, there's just that like that rush of energy that's just like you kind of can't get that anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's awesome like feeling. It's the chase. You keep chasing it, you know, because I always say the reason why I love drumming is the one thing that I feel like I'm fully in control of.
Oh yeah.
You know? And it's that escape from, you know, past and future.
Right.
You know, it's one of those things where you're fully in the moment and you're immersed in what you're doing, unless you're hammered. Yeah, but you know, but you know, if you're not, or if you are, but you know, you're still in that state, and it's an undescribable feeling unless you've been in that seat.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and also it's cool to see, like, again, talking about drums in context, like that to me is when the drums are the most in their context, because just like people are like dancing and like responding to what you're doing, and like to me it's just like everything just all kind of comes together musically at that moment, where it's just like, oh, this is why people like music, like this is it, you know. So to be just like in that space and kind of like providing that energy to them is just like, it's just the best. You know, it's something that even like a recording can't really do, you know. As much as I love recordings, and I love recording, and I love making recordings, it's great. It's its own thing, but like, you know, having real live people in front of you dancing and responding to what you're doing is just everything kind of coming together.
It's real time criticism.
It is.
You know?
Yeah, the crowd's not dancing.
Right, yeah.
Or if they're like talking or texting, or you've lost their interest.
Start reading that room.
That does cut deep.
Yeah.
Like that's deep.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite. My favorite thing though, and a lot of people hate this, and it's probably gonna be like this on my gig on Monday.
Yeah.
Uh, but literally, you're just playing to the other band.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've all played those types
Sure.
of gigs.
Yeah.
And a lot of people hate it. I love it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's, especially if it's like a touring band that you never played with before, it's kind of like, it's like you're meeting each other in the most vulnerable spot, you know, and usually it's the most, um, it's usually the best intro into a possible solid friendship, you know, between bands or just like members and stuff. But that could always go the other way.
Right.
You never know. But every experience I've had like that, it's been kind of like, yep, we're here, you know. Let's talk and get to know each other, you know. Because like when it's a pack show, you know, and you're playing with a bigger band or not even a bigger band, but like another band you might not know, you're probably not chit chatting. You know, everybody's running around the room.
Great to see you. Thanks for playing our show.
Yeah.
Have a great set.
Yeah.
And then you got
you know, but when it's just you two or three, you know, three bands with the people, you get to know each other pretty well. Yeah. You know, or spite each other. You never know.
Yeah.
Things get saucy sometimes.
Yeah, you can get saucy. Oh yeah.
Well, speaking of touring, have you done any touring?
I have not.
Really?
I haven't. No.
Is it something you'd like to do?
Yeah, but you know, so with Ghostal we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
And
I'm surprised you guys haven't.
We've chosen not to.
Okay.
Because I think unless you do it right, it's totally pointless.
Yeah.
And can be a big waste of money.
Yeah.
Unless you just want to do it just to do it and have fun. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. We're not those guys.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we obviously want to do it and have fun doing it, but at the same time, you know, if we're playing a show in Pennsylvania and then North Carolina and there's like 4 people at the show, what are like, then we're just playing the same music just in a different looking thing. Yeah. You know, and it's just like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, it's tough.
So
it's tough.
You know, we haven't. You know, we talked about getting on, you know, trying to latch onto a tour with, you know, a somewhat like an already established band to kind of get past that a little bit, and then you know, that almost happened, kind of just didn't work out logistically, but we haven't, but mostly because we just didn't want to do that. That just kind of sounded like a waste of time and energy.
When I was playing the Survivalists, the first tour we did together, we were supposed to go out with a bigger band, and then like the week of, they dropped out.
Nice.
And then we were just like, well, we're still going.
Yeah.
And it was the best time ever.
Sure.
You know, everywhere we played, everybody's real cool. I think we had one flop show. For, you know, it was just like a week run.
Right.
But it was so fun. Everybody's real cool. They're like, oh, it's your first tour. You know, not every tour is like that.
Right.
You know, but we had like that really big, you know, bug bite that was just like, well, we got to scratch that. You know?
Let's do it. Yeah.
And it snowballed from there. But it's one of those things where it's literally a full-time job. Like with that band, Ryan, he like started a booking company solely for networking for the band. You know, so like, and like booking a lot of touring acts and stuff and helping people out and like really like diving into like the DIY community and like pushing that really hard. And then when it came tour time, we had a really good network of people and we were really able to tap into those bigger events and stuff like that. Not to say we didn't have flop shows. We had plenty, but it's one of those things where, like you said, you got to be strategic. You know, like you go like, we'll go out for a weekend and test this spot. And if it's not cool, all right, don't worry about it. We'll try somewhere else, you know? Right. And just take notes, what works, what doesn't work, you know? And, you know, whenever you go to a new spot, there's let's say a 70% chance that it's not going to be that great. Right. You know? Yeah. But that 30% is awesome. Yeah. You know, when it does fall through or come through. Yeah. And, but it's one of those things like it's not for the weak-hearted, you know?
Yeah. I will say, I mean, we didn't do like official tours, but we did play like, play Nashville a couple times. We played in Chicago once or twice.
Yeah.
And I mean, both those shows were good.
Mm-hmm.
Crowd came out. It was cool. We based a lot of our, like we played Chicago because our Spotify numbers are the best in Chicago. Like consistently, they've been the best in Chicago.
Yeah.
So we were like, yeah, let's try Chicago, see if we actually can pull any of our fans out. And it was, I think it was like a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And I think there were like 50 or 60 people that showed up.
That's rad.
Which is cool. It was like our first time there.
Yeah.
Nashville, we, kind of one of those scenarios. A band was coming through town and asked us to play with them, and then we just kind of ended up being buddies with them. So we've done a couple of show swaps with them. But and that was a good show.
Yeah.
Again, folks came out. It was at a good venue. I forget the name of the venue. But it was kind of like a Promo West style venue where there's like the big Express Live, and then there's like it was like one of those types of venues.
Like the sister venues.
Yeah. I can't remember what it was. But and like I know a lot of bands will go on tour because they kind of like to test the waters of like, can we as people tour together?
Yeah.
But like me and Ghostal, like those guys. I mean, we've like Nate the bassist and we've been in every band I've ever been in, with the exception of a jam band that I was in high school. Like we've been in bands together, like pretty much as long as I've been playing music.
Rad.
And then James, like I've just known James, like so, like I know that like we don't have to worry about that. Like we're all best buds. Like we would do fine in that regard. It was just do we really want to spend money and then probably not make any of it back? on a big tour, and not only that, but like lose a ton of it. And maybe not play to anybody. Like it just didn't. It was like. Is that worth it? But
it's one of those things. It's like, do you like camping?
Right.
Do you like camping with a bunch of people, smelly dudes?
I don't. I hate camping. I just actually, I just had this conversation today, with a lady.
Yeah.
At the drum shop. And I hate camping. I hate sleeping in a tent, waking up. It's like moist. I hate it.
That is the worst.
It is the worst.
The dew, the morning dew.
It's the worst.
Oh, you just feel like you need a shower.
It's not good.
Sticky.
It's not good.
I mean, I have a love hate with camping. It depends on the context of the trip. Am I there just to go camping for fun? No, right. I'm probably there to hang out with a bunch of people who want to go camping.
Sure,
I'm more there for the people than the actual camping. Yeah. It's just that's a situation I really don't like, but I'm going to deal with it because I'm in good company.
Sure, makes all the difference.
And that's why I love touring. But it is definitely not for everyone. Some people they just man cannot handle the road. I did one little. I think it was a weekend run, not even a tour, just a weekend run to kind of test waters. And the band I was playing, it was 3 guys that never, ever played outside of Ohio.
Yeah.
Right. And we played, the first show was in Kalamazoo. It was a house show. Awesome. It was packed.
Yeah.
We literally sold all our merch.
Nice.
On the first show. Like all of it was gone.
Nice.
Which was nuts.
Sure.
I think that's only happened one other time when I was in Survivalist. Nice. But like for like a first time, like never been there before, it was like, oh, okay, we might be onto something here,
Yeah.
But I remember at the end of the night, we're all like, oh, this is great, and it's like, oh yeah, well, where are we sleeping? They're like, oh, we're gonna stay here. Oh, okay. Do we have beds? Like, well, I'm going to sleep on that part of the floor. There's maybe a couch, and they're just, I remember the look of pure disgust of like, we're sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, unless you want to get a hotel.
Yeah.
Have
your chiropractor on speed dial.
Yeah, man, But yeah, that was, oh man, I have never heard so much complaining on a tour in my entire life. Just over the silliest stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like, and that's I knew that was DOA. Just not happening.
Wasn't going to last.
Yeah.
Sure.
But, yeah, man. But I love touring.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I've asked this question twice.
Okay.
And it always goes different way. Actually, Brooklyn's response was pretty rad.
Okay.
That was pretty cool. But I'm gonna ask you this,
Do it.
and take it however you want, whatever direction you want to go in it.
Can't
It's
wait.
all you.
All right. Can't wait.
What would you consider your biggest failure moment in your music career? Like, have you ever had a moment where you're just like, well, this fucking sucks? You know what I mean? Or like, this went completely sideways.
All right. Let me think about this one.
It's kind of a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a moment in mind. But I'm trying to think. Like, is it too obvious? Is it too obvious of an answer? Can I give you a cooler answer?
I mean, you could start with it and see what flows from there. You know. Tell me how you feeling.
Yeah. This can go on way longer than you want to go. If you really
Oh
want me to
no,
get
you're
into that.
fine, man. No.
This might be too like face value of an answer, but I just remember a buddy of mine. His name is John. John's a great drummer. John watches this. Hi, John.
Hi, John.
John's awesome. So John was playing a gig with a really great. Okay, yeah. So John was playing a gig up in Youngstown, which is like my hometown.
Yeah.
And I happened to be home, and he was playing with a really sweet and wonderful piano player, keyboardist, synthesizer player from Cincy. Also, fantastic dude, and like an amazing musician, and just a total sweetheart of a guy. They were playing a gig in Youngstown, and John had me sit in on, I forget what song it was, what tune it was. If we're talking jazz, it's a tune.
Yeah.
And man, I botched it.
Yeah.
And at this point, it was just like, I think I'd spent a year at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wasn't cocky, but I was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Sure, I can go sit and play at the band and hold it down. And dude, I mean, it was like, I remember getting there and just like freezing.
Yeah.
And just like my brain was just like, and I actually struggled a lot with this in lessons. I don't get stage fright, but I have this thing in like lessons where, I would work on what I was supposed to work on, like a lot.
Yeah.
It would be down.
Yeah.
And then I'd get into my lesson, and it was almost just like my brain. And I think it has a little bit to do with my anxiety of just like this paralysis.
Yeah.
Of this mental paralysis.
Oh, that's a bummer.
And that happening, and I just remember like, I don't think I was on the verge of tears, but like when I left, I just like took a drive, and I was just like,
yeah,
that was so embarrassing to me,
dude.
And the thing is like now I don't even care.
Yeah,
like I don't care at all because I don't play the style of music.
Yeah.
I'm still good friends with John. Like,
The world didn't end.
Like the world didn't end. Like I said earlier, nobody died.
Yeah,
But it was just one of those moments of just like, feeling like, yeah, I've got this. I can do this. And then like losing that grip.
Oh man.
And so yeah, I don't know. I mean that might be what I consider my.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can.
Oh, I could relate to that. Like when I was my dad, Mr. Joe Ong, everybody in Columbus knows my dad.
Yeah.
Older cats, younger cats probably not so much. But when I was a kid, everybody's Joe, And every once in a while we would go to like, my mom would take us to, if he was playing at Spaggio's or something. R.I.P.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
And he's sitting there and eating a meal and just hanging out, a kid, and then one of his band members, I'll never forget this. Cornell Wiley. You ever meet Cornell Wiley? Amazing bass player, great vocalist.
Okay.
R.I.P. Loved him to death. And he's like, Joe, why don't you get your son up here and have him play with it? And I'm like, I have no idea what the tune this is. And I'm just like, okay, why not? And I get back there and I just start playing all the notes.
Yeah.
Every note I can think of.
Sure.
And then, it comes to the whole, okay, we're going to trade floors. And I'm like, I got nothing.
You already did it all.
I got nothing,
Yeah.
And just that nervousness and that feeling of, I botched this, what I mean, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Yeah. And I think it's
tough.
I think it's the feeling of being embarrassed doing the thing that you love the most. You know what I mean? Just that like
being hyper vulnerable.
Yeah.
Vulnerable.
Yeah. And that is always a very like painful moment.
Yeah. It's a good reality check.
It is a good reality check.
You know?
But at the same time, it's just like, those can be make or break for some folks.
Yeah.
That can really harm somebody's love of playing music.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it can be tough to handle because again, you're embarrassed doing the thing that you love the most.
Yeah.
That's just like such a painful experience.
That's honestly what kept me from being a gig musician.
Well,
for years.
And to be honest, like to this day, that's why like I kind of took myself out of like the freelancing thing for that reason, because I didn't want to have to deal with the pressure of that.
Yeah.
That's why I started Ghost Soul, because I was like, I'm just gonna start my own band. I can do what I want.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna mess up because it's my band.
Yeah.
Like what I play is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did that very purposefully because I didn't want to deal with that feeling again. And that might be something I should work on. Like that might not be a good thing for me. But it was just like a wall that I put up.
Yeah.
I'm happy with Ghost Soul and I'm happy with the amount that I play.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe if I didn't do that, would I be playing with other people as well? I don't know. But
well,
I don't feel left out or like bummed about it.
Yeah.
But
I feel that I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I had this is uncomfortable, and I've had a couple times where I purposely put myself in there and just didn't like it.
Sure.
And I feel that the reason I didn't like it is I wasn't ready for it. It was something that I wasn't really, that's not what I was learning drums for.
Right.
I was learning to write my own stuff or playing bands, like original bands and all that. And then about 4 years ago, my view shifted.
Sure.
Because I started feeling a little more confident in being vulnerable.
Sure.
And taking last minute and honestly, the one thing that really kind of got me over that was being the guy that takes like, hey, we had someone cancel today, can you sit in?
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh, the pressure's on, but the bar is really low. Yeah, sure. So I can get away with some flubs and it'll be just all right. Or I don't know this tune, but I'm just gonna play something. Yep. And I've done a few of those, and I've gotten to a point where I've gotten good at that. Awesome. Where I've gotten better at learning songs a lot quicker. Without even really, I've gotten to a point where I can just be like, okay, next song, which is cool. But it's definitely a lot of work. Yeah. And there's a point where it gets like, I don't want to do it, because it's just too much. But that's usually when it's super last minute. Right. Mostly wedding gigs.
Right. Yeah.
Money's great.
Sure. So they pay well. Yeah.
Man, is it stressful.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, man. I'm 39.
Sure.
I started when I was 5, and when I was 35 is when I finally was like, yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah.
And now I feel comfortable, not in every context, but in most common contexts of gigging. Like where I'm like, okay, yeah, I could do that.
Right.
Might not land everything, but I can fit in and hold it down. Just
Yeah.
And that's fine for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yep.
I know exactly when you were talking about that, man.
Yeah.
I had a flashback moment of like how I was feeling internally, like that, like, oh God.
Yeah. It like tears you apart. Like it doesn't sound that bad when you say it out loud, but like to feel it is like it's an experience.
Yeah.
It's an experience.
It's a gut punch.
It is big time.
Well, let's flip it to successful.
Yeah.
What's like the most successful moment in your career that you've had, or something that you feel would be successful?
Yeah.
What do you call success in your current status?
That's another very good question. Again, I'll give you like a face value answer, but I can go deep.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like so Okay, this will be a longer answer.
All right.
So I think just like Ghost Soul as a whole is like my greatest success. You know,
Yeah.
not that it's my success, that's my band,
Yeah.
but you know, it was like a it was kind of the point in my just life in general where I was like, okay, I'm gonna take control of of where I want this to go.
Yeah.
You know, because at the time I was going to OSU, and I actually dropped out, which is a whole nother long story. But man, it was one of those things where I was literally. You mentioned you did something earlier, and it reminded me of this about your job.
Yeah.
I was literally driving to class, and I was like, you know what? I hate this. And I just turned around and went home, and I never went back. And I'm sure I failed all my classes. I was not in any ensembles at the time. I was past all my ensembles. So, you know, didn't leave anyone hanging. But I was like, this is terrible. I hate this. I hate this existence of again, there's a whole backstory to it, but it was not working for me.
Yeah.
So I just turned around, went home, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna start a band. And at the time, yeah. So I won't get too far the path.
That's okay.
But
go as deep as you want, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was just it was like, you know, like our first EP was just kind of like when I was just dropping out of school, and I was like, I'm just gonna get my recording gear set up and just hit stuff and like throw my hands on the keyboard and hope something cool comes out.
Yeah,
you know. And then you know, James, our singer, I had worked with his, like, he's in another band, and I had worked with them a couple years prior, and I knew that he was going to Capitol, and we were like already buddies. So I was like, hey, James, like, I've got these like 5 songs, just like do some singing stuff on them.
Yeah,
he did some singing stuff, and then Nate was still living in Youngstown at the time, and so I just, you know, had Nate do it. He eventually moved down to Columbus, but and then I mean, just like from Ghost Soul, we did, like, you know, we've done some cool things, you know. We opened up for Lizzo, which was like,
that's super dope. I remember
like,
seeing, it
was like,
that's
why?
Super sick.
Like, why is this happening? It was dumb, but it was like so cool, you know.
Did you get to meet her?
I saw her backstage, but it was like, I had like backstage passes, obviously.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever been, like, I guess behind Express Live, like on like the back end of the stage. But that's like where she was, and there was like a line of like folks taking pictures with her, but like they wouldn't even let me like within like 100 feet of her. Like there was like a security guard, and I was like, I've got like, I get that, a backstage, like whatever.
Yeah, I get that.
So I saw her from a distance. We ate with her dancers. They were very sweet.
That's cool.
They were very sweet. Yeah, they were very friendly. But you know, so like because of that, like I was able to do cool things. Like I said, Darren King was one of my favorite drummers.
Yeah.
He came to Columbus, and I like went crazy and hounded whoever I could hound, and ended up getting an opening slot for him.
Oh, that's rad.
Like,
that's rad.
You know, so like that kind of stuff to me of just like not in like a bragging of like I opened up for, but it's just like like, you know, I just like worked hard enough with the band, you know, with the other guys in the band as well, to like do these cool things, and that to me is like probably what I would consider my greatest musical success.
I wanted to chime in, man. You should never feel that it's a brag when it's true.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to come across as like, well, because like, again, you know, I talk to drummers like all day, and like the amount of times people try to like humble brag to me, I'm just like, I don't care what you've done, you know. But to me, it's not that like, you know, I mean, it's cool that I opened up, or that Ghost Soul was able to open up for Lizzo, but like that's not what I'm like. That to me isn't the accomplishment. The accomplishment is just that, like, you know, I'm in a cool band with some cool guys, and we did a cool thing. Yeah, and that to me is cool. Yeah, you know,
absolutely. I think that's cool as fuck.
Yeah. So you know that you know that like that kind of stuff is, you know, probably what I would consider my greatest musical achievement.
And that's rad. Yeah. I'm here for it.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
Honestly. And, you know, I get the whole humble brag thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I catch myself doing it sometimes. My issue is that I teach so much
Sure.
that when I'm talking to people, I'm still in teach mode.
Yeah, right.
And like I don't realize it until I've already said something. I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry if I annoyed you with that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do it on here sometimes too.
Sure.
It's just part of
I mean,
life.
Yeah, sure.
That's my truth.
Right.
Yeah. But no, man, I especially in this setting, I wouldn't feel like brag.
I know, but
we're getting to know you.
That's right.
Thank you. The metaphorical audience here.
Yeah.
But but that's rad, dude. I mean, that's super killer, and I love seeing whether they're friends or acquaintances or just other drummers I haven't even met, like doing cool shit.
Yeah, it's cool
because I know that feeling,
Right.
like
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure when you're at promo and doing the thing with Lizzo, like I can imagine how you were feeling.
Yeah, it was cool.
Because I've been that way in a different context. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's so cool and so exciting.
It was very exciting.
I love that shit.
I don't remember that at all. Like that show, I don't remember playing at all. But because it was, the adrenaline.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So I'm pretty proud of that whole progression of everything.
Yeah. It's cool, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think I'm starting to run out of questions here. I'm having a moment.
It's all right. Moments are okay.
Moments are good. Unless you can think of a segue. I got nothing. Sorry, that was just a cheap ploy.
That's okay.
To buy some time.
That's okay. You bought us some time.
I bought some time, but not enough time. Oh, I'm so surprised I haven't brought this up yet. So studio stuff. I want to talk about studio stuff.
Yeah, I love studio
stuff. Man, I haven't
even
picked your brain about that yet. So
I love studio stuff.
Another favorite question I like to ask, which I asked Brooklyn, because she's the only other person I've talked to that does studio stuff.
Yeah.
Other than you today.
Yeah.
Or tonight. Are you a in the box or out of the box person?
I'm hybrid.
I like that.
I'm hybrid.
Yeah.
For me, it's exciting to like be reaching places and turning knobs. And I think, I did the in the box thing, obviously, because out of box stuff isn't cheap. So like by default, you start with in the box stuff most of the time. So, I did that for years and like, it's great. I can pump out a good mix in the box, no problem. But I was like, I'm just going to start building some, an outboard setup. And next thing I know, I've got a lot of cool outboard gear. And I love it. It's just fun to me. It's more fun. I like pushing buttons and turning knobs and like, to me it sounds better, but I know what I'm listening for. Like I'm fully aware that the end result to the listener, like if my mom's listening to it, she's not going to know if I use an outboard Paultec as opposed to, a Waves Paultec plugin. Like she's not going to know. And I know that, but to me, it's just like, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun to me. And it keeps me interested. And I think just the end result of that is a better mix.
Absolutely.
Not because I'm using outboard gear, but just because I'm just more entrenched in doing things.
Yeah.
And I like that.
So, I kind of wanted to ask you something about mixing.
Yeah.
Are you, do you like to mix your drums more natural, or do you like to really color them and saturate?
It depends. It really depends. I am, so one thing that I'm big on, especially when I'm in like a producing role, be it for Ghost Soul or, a client that I'm working with, is like, listen, man, I'm not going to take your drum sound and overhaul it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But like, you know what? Let's just take some time and make sure that these drums, I want the end result to sound still like the same kit that you recorded on.
Yeah.
Especially for the genre of music that we do. Now, I know some genres, they'll do a lot of sample replacement, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's a tool. That's cool. Great.
Yeah.
But for what we do and for what I prefer, most of the time, even if I'm doing some pretty heavy hitting processing, I still want it to sound and feel like that kit that you played on.
Yeah.
So it really depends. It really depends, and it of course depends on like the drum kit that I have set up. You know, if I'm doing like a really wide open drum sound, sometimes over processing that just doesn't. It loses that.
Doesn't call for it.
That thing.
Yeah.
You know. But again, that's a decision that I'm making prior to even setting up microphones. Of just like, what do I want this to sound like?
Yeah.
And, you know, when I leave here today, what do I want it to sound like coming out of my speakers?
Yeah.
So but it really depends. Like some of the Ghost Soul stuff, like I dig in a little bit harder. Some of our new music that we're putting out some new music soon.
Hey.
You know,
we'll get to that.
Yeah. You know, we kind of took the approach of dialing it back a little bit just because we wanted to. You know, we're like our first album, like when I mixed that thing, I mean, it was like, you know, kind of went ham on it, and it was fun, and I think it's appropriate. Like, and I listen back to it, you know, I'm like, yeah, that's appropriate. I might, you know, be critiquing my mixes from 5 or 6 years ago,
right?
You know, but overall, I'm like, yeah, I would probably do something similar now. I might have a different approach, but it would, to my mom, it would sound the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it really depends.
Yeah.
It really depends. Lately I've been very into like good drums through good mics, a good drummer in a good room.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's your drum sound. I've been really into that lately. And that's hard. That's very hard.
Yeah, and honestly it's one of those things where actually my friend kind of pointed this out. He's you know, I've actually downgraded mics.
Okay, sure.
Mostly to kind of challenge myself a little more, and it's like, you know, playing on cheap kits.
Yeah.
You play on a cheap kit and see how well you can make a cheap set sound.
Yeah.
And then you get the good stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And it just makes you a better player, I
agree.
feel. And I feel that would translate in recording too. You know, so it like making sure the drummer is like on point makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah, that's
and
like 90%.
Kind of negates what microphones you're using, you know, and more just focus on the player and the placement.
Right.
And yeah, that's something I've been really focusing on. It's more like on perfect placement and stuff, and getting a little lazy of just, you know, the set it forget it thing.
Oh man,
you know, and which is easy to do.
Sure.
Something else I've been wanting to ask. I forgot to ask Brooklyn this, but when you're mixing drums, do you mix drummer perspective or listener perspective?
Depends on my mood.
That's fair.
Yeah, it depends on my mood. Sometimes I'm like, I want the rack tom panned left, and then sometimes I'm like, I want it panned right, and I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll pan them center.
Yeah.
No one's perspective. I mean, that's just
just straight mono.
Yeah. It really depends. I think that it's really easy to think too much about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where at like the end of the day, it's just like, and you know, I mean, it depends on the song. You know, if like if I'm working on a song and I've got like some like synth things happening over here and like some like other dumb things happening over here, I don't like the tom over here and the floor tom over here might just get in that space. So I just might want them pan center, or I might just take them out of the mix.
Yeah.
You know, just use the tom sounds from the overheads.
Yeah.
So it really depends. I definitely don't have a set rule of like, well, the drums have to be like, you know, now like if I'm just like having fun and recording something, you know, usually I'll just mix drummer perspective, but like if I'm actually like working with a client and doing like, you know, doing like professional work, it just depends.
Yeah.
It depends on my mood. It depends on what's going on in the song.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
It all depends.
One of my favorite things I heard from a friend of my friend Eunice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great dude.
Good dude.
Shout outs.
Shout out.
Yeah.
You know, I picked his brain a lot when I was kind of getting started, like mostly because I've always wanted to get into recording, like ever since I was young.
Yeah.
But it was just like money and time, and like I was more focused on playing than being behind the scene kind of thing. And So I was picking his brain about stuff, and one of my favorite things that he told me that was very liberating was he's like, the one thing I love about recording is there's no rules.
Oh yeah.
Like there's the foundation,
Right.
like things you should know,
Right.
but it's not like it has to be this every single time.
Right.
Like if you take a microphone and throw it outside and hit record and it sounds cool,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna judge you. They're gonna be like, how'd you get that sound?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you're like, oh well.
Yeah.
First of all, I drill a hole through the ceiling.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought that was so cool, and that was like kind of my gateway into the whole recording community kind of thing, because I've noticed that a lot of people are really cool with sharing
Oh yeah.
information in the recording world.
Yeah.
But when you get into the music world,
Yeah.
oh my god,
People are weird about it.
The knives start coming out.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're trying to steal my shtick, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's total, and it's refreshing.
It's
and
super
it's exciting.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like at the end of the day, man, like, you know, I can tell you all the stuff I do, and you can tell me all the stuff that you do, and I can copy it, but it's not going to sound like what you do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And also, like, if I tell you what I do, and I go online tomorrow and you post a video, and it sounds like what I do, I don't care.
Right.
Like, I think that's dope.
Yeah.
Like, I do it because I think it sounds good. So, like, if I listen to your thing and it sounds good, I'm like, cool, that sounds good.
I
like,
feel it's just sharing technique with everybody, you know, because we're all going to get there at some point.
And like, also, like it's not your technique, you know what I mean?
Right,
like it's been done a million times before, you know. So it's just like, if I share my technique with you, it's not my technique. Like Al Schmidt did it before I did it, you know what I mean? Like and he did it better than me, like you know. So I think, you know, people get, you know, they really safeguard what, I just think it's an ego thing. You know, they safeguard these ideas, but they don't realize that like somebody did it before them and they probably did it better. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, I'll tell you what you want to know. You know, if you ask me a question about something, of course I'll tell you, because it's just like, I know that like what I do will still sound what I do. Most likely what you do will still sound like what you do. Yeah. And what I do has already been done. Yeah. So it's not my idea. You know what I mean? So it's just like, yeah, I have no problem sharing any of that information. Yeah. You know, we went to a restaurant once, and we had this awesome dish, and we asked the chef. We were like, "Hey, can we get this recipe?" Yeah. And he gave it to us. Yeah. And we tried to make it, and it was not the same.
That is, well,
you know? So it's just like
true.
It's just like,
but also that's kind of rare because a lot of cooks are like,
Israel. No, he was
talking about.
He was super sweet. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the restaurant. Otherwise, I'd give them a shout out as well. Yeah. But you know, so it's just that thing. Like, yeah, you can give me the recipe, but it does not mean that like there's so much more to it than that. Yeah. You know. Yeah. No, ours was not nearly as good. Yeah. Nearly as good. It wasn't in the same ballpark.
Trial and error.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So yeah. That's one really cool thing about the folks that I've met in the you know, recording engineer, like mixing engineer scene here, is like, no one cares. We're all buds. Yeah. You know? Yeah. We're all buds.
You know, the one thing I've kind of drawn a line on sharing information with recording when it comes to clients.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Here's an example. So I had a client hit me up to record like 4 songs, like just drums track for him. And he's like, yeah, man, I have, you know, I have money already spent at the studio, but he's been real busy, and I'm thinking about, you know, I kind of want to get this done soon. I was wondering if you'd be interested. I'm like, well, yeah, of course I'm interested. Yeah. And then that kind of changed into, well, I went to that studio and tracked the guitar and the vocals there, but I don't know. I'm still trying to think if I want to go somewhere else for mixing. And, you know, and it wasn't me trying to comp money, but it was me just saying, you know, I feel this is true. If you're recording an album, you definitely don't want the same person mixing and mastering it.
I agree.
You know, like you don't want the guy that's hitting record to be mixing, because those ears are burnt out. Right. You know, just from raw sound. Sure. And the same with mastering. Yeah. So it was basically telling him that. Yeah. And, you know, just say, you know, I can do your mixing, I would, or mastering, right, if you wanted me to. And then that kind of diluted into, hey, man, let me know how this mix sounds. Can you tell me how to mix this? And I'm just kind of like,
yeah, that's different. That's definitely different.
It's like, if you, it's like asking for mixing tips.
Right.
And I'm just like, well, I'm kind of running a business here. If you
Yeah.
want to come in, I can show you the stuff that I know,
Sure.
and guide you in some other directions. But like,
Yeah.
I can't be sitting here on the phone with you for an hour just
Yeah.
telling you how.
I mean,
to,
it's also,
that's a little, much.
Oftentimes when I have my clients in, I'll definitely geek out with them while they're there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But they're like
that's
paying,
different.
but they're like paying for my time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like, I mean, it might be different now because like a lot of the clients I work with, I just like consider good friends of mine now. So like, if they might say, "Hey Joe, like I did this thing. What do you think?" I might say, "Yeah, sure. Here's what I think."
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like, if it's a client that I'm pretty disconnected from,
Yeah.
sure, I'll geek out all you want. While you're there, I can tell you exactly what I'm doing, why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But just because you're in a different room, which might be your house, and I'm at my studio, I'm not going to spend an hour on the phone with you for free. Like, because I'm doing the same thing, you're just in a different room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that to me is very clearly a different thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be pumped about that either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was just very weird.
Yeah.
If it was, somebody I knew, or even if somebody I didn't know,
right,
and I didn't work with yet, and they were like, "Hey, I was just wondering if you could listen to a song, maybe give me some notes."
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
I love listening to other people's stuff and giving my ears and what I hear on it. But if it's someone I've worked with and they're like, "Hey, I'm trying to mix this myself. Can you give me tips on how to mix drums?" Like, sorry, bro.
Yeah.
Time's money, and this place ain't cheap.
Right.
So, it's kind of a bummer, but it's business.
It is business. And I think, I don't know. I feel like, since we work with people closely on their ideas, they tend to look past those like they forget that it's still a business,
Yeah. Oh man, I got a story for you about that.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
right.
I don't know if I want to share it on here.
Okay.
Also, it's very long-winded.
Okay. I'm lucky to say I don't have any horror stories. All of my clients so far, have been great.
That's killer.
I've got no horror stories. Everyone's been awesome. So.
I want to ask you one last question.
Do it.
Because I feel like I'm eating up your sleeping time.
No.
But I was curious about your mic selection. Like, what go-to mics do you like? You gotta give me your whole setup, but like, what are some go-to mics that you like, or maybe you would suggest to some other drummers that want to get into recording?
Good question.
I do have one other question.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I mean, if you want to get into recording, what I have might not be the best options.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I used a pair of Shure SM81s.
Yeah.
I would, one thing I always tell folks, because I do have like some buddies, like, hey man, I want to get like a simple drum mic setup. Like, what do I get? And I always tell them, spend as little as you can on like the kick and snare mic, and spend as much as you can on the overheads.
Yeah.
Because that's your kit.
Yeah.
So like, a used set of SM81s might put you out $500.
That's not bad.
It's not, it's not bad, especially in drum mics.
Yeah.
That's cheap.
Oh, yeah.
That's dirt cheap in drum mic land. Get a used Beta 52. Get a used 57. You've got a usable setup.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky. I've kind of been building up my setup for a long time.
Yeah.
So I didn't just buy everything at once. I've kind of been, it's been a pretty slow burn.
Yeah.
Probably for like the past 10 or 12 years of just like getting stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not one to settle. So I'll put off that purchase for another couple months and just get what I want.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I can get real geeky here.
Hey, go for it.
Okay, great. So like my kick mic, I know we've talked about kick mics a little bit.
Yeah.
So I use an
AKG.
Yep, I use the D12, which I love.
Oh man,
I
got a story for you on that.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
It sounds awesome. It sounds really great. I'll use the Biodynamic M201 on the snare.
Yeah.
And the reason I like that mic so much is the number one thing for recording snare drum is not how it's recording snare drum, but how it's recording the hi-hat.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Oh my God.
And that's why I don't like 57s, because to me the way that the like that off-axis coloration on a 57 from the hi-hat is like death.
Yeah.
It's super bright, it's super brittle, and it's like never workable.
Yeah.
Like, you're cool when they're playing the close hi-hat, and then the second they open it and that like hi-hat splash comes through that snare mic, you're like, your ears are dead.
Yeah.
The M201 probably has just as much bleed, but it's much more listenable.
Yeah.
Which is why I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that being said, thousands of records have been cut on a 57 and they sound amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying,
end all be all.
End all be all, but for me, that's what I love.
Yeah.
I've got some Soyuz tube mics that I use on the overheads. I've used some larger diaphragm mics on my overheads that I've liked, but large diaphragm microphones are heavy.
Yeah.
And unless you're going to spend like $300 per mic stand, which is not a fun purchase on a mic stand.
Yeah.
Small diaphragm mics are great because they're lightweight and they sound awesome.
I gotta jump in. If you have a ceiling, that's not a drop ceiling,
right?
Or if your drums are up against the wall, what I used to do at my old spot is I had a bar.
Oh yeah,
and I would hang cymbal or mic tops.
Yeah.
For those large condensers.
Yeah,
and it was perfect.
Was it?
They just wouldn't move. They would just stay right there.
If you go back on my Instagram page, you can probably see some old photos or photos or videos of my two blue Kiwi mics on my mic stands, and they're like at this angle because the weight is just
yeah.
But yeah, I love like small diaphragms, and they're super easy to like measure. You got to do measuring, super easy to measure. They're lightweight. They sound awesome. So those are great.
Do you like, what polar pattern do you like with your overhead condensers?
Just cardioid.
Just cardioid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done figure eights on my. I mean, the thing is like with these drop ceilings, I've actually had phasing issues.
Yeah.
Because because it's reflecting off the, because to get the two overheads equidistant from the center of the snare drum, which I do measure, some guys don't measure.
Yeah.
I'm very like, I measure. Every time I measure. So if you have a if you're using like two like LDCs and they're in like a figure eight pattern, and for them to be equidistant from the snare drum, they're like this. Yeah. So now this mic is picking up the ceiling at a different distance than what this mic's picking up the ceiling, and I've had phasing issues.
Yeah. See, I always measure but keep them the same height.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I don't bog them down or.
It depends. I mean, sometimes I'll just do an XY if I want to like, if I want it to be right and it to sound good, and then boohoo, my stereo image isn't just like big, but but then I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I make them even. Sometimes I don't, and it really just depends on like what I want to try that day.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do more of like the kind of like an ORTF, the ORTF pattern where they're like doing this kind of thing, because then like sometimes I struggle with I've got my snare drum center image, but then like the overheads aren't equidistant from the kick drum, so then like the kick drum's a little bit louder in this overhead or this overhead, and I found that when you do that, it kind of takes the kick drum out of it a little bit more and like makes that easier. No one cares. Like again, like the listener's not gonna know when you're mixing. It matters, but like again, my mom's not gonna know the difference. But
for sure,
so
connection level though. Yeah, that's where it matters.
So it just depends. It depends on my mood. Most of the time, I'm doing a spaced pair, and most of the time, they're not the same height. They're at a different height.
Do you do your spaced pair where? Some people do this where one's over the floor, one's over the hi-hat, or do you sit them outside of the kit?
I don't typically sit them outside the kit. That to me, it's like a visual thing. It looks weird to me. And I'm like, the kit's not there. Yeah. That's not the kit.
See, I like sitting it outside.
Do you?
Mostly because I've noticed you get a wider stereo field.
Oh, yeah, you're going to get a huge stereo field.
Which, for me, that's why I dig.
Yeah, and if I were to do that, I'd probably put up a mono mic as well, so I have some of that center focus and punch.
Yeah.
But again, I'm sure there's been thousands of records cut where the overheads are placed outside and they sound awesome.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, you do that with the crotch mic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's basically what I do.
Oh, sure. And
that's mic,
kind of your
it fills that
mono
out.
overhead.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah. There's that that's probably why it works.
Yeah. I'll usually put one of those up anyway.
Yeah.
Just because they're fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Yeah. It's usually always good for the kick.
From
my experience.
You know what I've been doing lately is I've been building the drum mix off of that mic.
Yeah.
Which has been interesting.
Yep.
So I usually use a ribbon as well for that, for that. And I tend to like I like mine a little bit further back above the kick drum as opposed to like closer to the snare drum. So sometimes I'll have to bring the snare drum up into the mix a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I've been having fun using that as like 70 to 80% of the drum sound. And then use everything else supplemental to like fill out the image and to fill out some of the impact.
Yeah.
Because if you place that right, you can get a ton of sound from that mic.
Yeah. My favorite thing is getting. So I'll take the same track and split in threes.
Oh, sure.
So I'll have one dedicated for kick, one for like mid snare to get a little extra beef, and then the other one I'll dedicate to toms.
Sure.
To get more low end and just kind of bust it out from there.
Yeah.
And then, fills it out.
Sounds
all
good,
the low
good.
ends right there.
Right.
That's like the best part about it.
Right.
It's just all that bottom end.
It does not. Yeah. The kick sounds very good.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. But
recording's fun.
Yeah.
There's so much to it.
There is, man, but it's a blast. I think it's more fun than drums anymore, to be honest with you. And it might just be because,
I hate to admit it, but yeah.
Like I've been doing drums my whole life.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this for a long time too. To me, it's just like, it's one of those things that to me, it musically makes a bigger impact than like getting nitpicky over drums.
Yeah.
Now, like, that's not totally true, but if like, to me, the drums are just the drums. They serve a purpose and they're great. Love them. Cool. Drums are cool. But to me, like, the whole recording is just like, that is the whole song presented. And that to me is just way more like, I don't know. I just get way more interested in that.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm thinking of like the end listener, like, end listener is going to hear a snare drum and they're going to say, oh, that's a snare drum. They're going to hear the kick drum. They're going to say, oh yeah, that sounds like a kick drum.
Yeah.
If they even know what it's called.
Right.
But they're going to know what, they're going to recognize it.
Yeah.
Where like, they'll know if it's just like not a good song.
Yeah.
And they'll know if it's a great song. Where otherwise, they'll say, oh yeah, those are drums. There's drums on that song.
Yeah.
So, but that to me is, even an untrained musician will know if it's a bad song or not.
Yeah.
So I do just get more interested in that stuff. I think it's, I don't know. I think it's super cool. And it might just be where I'm at right now. Again, you might ask me in 2 years and I might say, yeah, drums are the coolest thing in the world. I love drums to death and I hate recording.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll be the case.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's a fun adventure.
It is.
And it's just like instrument. I mean, it's its own separate instrument within itself.
Absolutely.
That never really ends.
Right.
No. Continuous learning,
Yeah. Money wise too. I'm perpetually in debt.
Oh yes. Oh god.
So it just doesn't end.
Yeah.
It never stops.
Well, you're not a musician if you're not poor.
Perpetually in debt.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. It's a fun outlook.
Well, I got one last question.
Do it.
For real this time.
Hit me with it.
What do you got going on music-wise, release-wise?
Yeah.
You mentioned one earlier.
So Ghost Soul's got some stuff in the works.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a song coming out. I guess we haven't even announced when's coming out, but it's coming out in July. Hey. And with a music video to follow pretty shortly. At the end of July, we've actually got some just like days blocked off at Moonlight to
cool.
We've got like 4 or I think 4 other songs. So we've got 2 songs that are done that are like ready to be put out.
Yeah.
And then we've got 4 other songs that are like 75% done that we're going to get in there and finish. So we're doing that, which will be super dope. I'm excited for that stuff. And then again, so this other project that I started with Nate, who plays bass in Ghost Soul, and then my buddy Miles, who so he's got his project called Tragic Sands. Cool. And yeah, so I recorded and mixed that album for him. I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I love Miles. He's one of my favorite singers in town. He's wonderful. Shout out Miles. Hey. So I had been wanting to work with him creatively for a while. So just for other reasons, Ghost Soul kind of had to slow down a little bit. So it kind of left me some time to like do something different. And we're having a blast working on it. It's very cool music. It's super cool. I'm very excited for it. Unfortunately, Miles is moving to California, so like we've got like 3 songs that we're gonna put out.
Yeah,
and then we'll see what happens, but we probably won't play any shows, which is a bummer.
That's a bummer.
But I'm very much so looking forward to getting that out there.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, man, I mean, those are like the projects that I'm involved in that I'm pretty pumped about. I don't think there's anything else. I think that's it.
Yeah. Is that it?
I think so.
It's a cap.
Dope.
Well, no cap.
No cap. Yeah.
Well, Joe, it was a pleasure having you, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much for coming.
This was fun.
Especially, it was exciting that you're like, hey, man, can I come a day early or a couple days early?
Oh, nice.
I got time. I was like, sweet.
Well, so it kind of worked out too, because so I've got a dentist appointment in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's been fun. I love the dentist. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Love it. It's been my second home lately. I have a feeling they might pull one of my wisdom teeth tomorrow. Ooh. So like it would have been a fun combo.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So it all worked out. I did have a session tonight.
Yeah.
And that got canceled. So I was like, yeah, great. Yeah. In case they pull a wisdom tooth tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like it would have been fine. They pulled one like 2 weeks ago. It was fine.
You know what's funny? When I had my wisdom teeth pulled out, like I was super loopy.
Okay.
Like, they threw me in this bouncy room.
Oh, sure.
And then my dad drove me home.
Yeah.
But they're like, yeah, don't drink anything out of a straw, don't smoke or any of that.
Yeah.
I took a nap, I woke up, I was smoking, and I just started smoking. I had no problems.
Oh, really?
I had no issues whatsoever. And the next day I felt fine. I had no pain or anything.
Nice. Yeah, they actually they just numbed me. They didn't put me out.
Yeah.
Which I prefer.
I got knocked out.
Getting put out freaks me out. It freaks me out.
It was the first time I ever got knocked out.
It freaks me out.
I have my dad. I was like, Dad, can you stay in the room? Because like I don't know these people. Yeah, dude, it freaks me out. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
So that was a fun time. It actually wasn't that bad. They had to use one of those like dental drills and like cut into my bone. Yeah, it actually wasn't bad. It was fine. Had a blast. Would recommend. Would bring a friend.
10 out of 10. Right
10 out of 10. Yeah, 5 stars on Yelp. It was great. So anyway, it all worked out.
Nice.
So, because it would have been interesting tomorrow night if I just had a super sore mouth.
Yeah.
And it would have been cranky from a sore jaw.
Well, you went out a day. I believe Friday. Today technically is Thursday, but yeah, you went out a day. I think you'd be all right.
I've been fine. Last time I had
Yeah,
I'll let you know.
Friday rolls around, but like, I feel fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
You never know. Are you getting all 4?
No, I'm gonna try and just do like one at a time.
Oh, okay. No, don't they usually have to do 2? Because if you do 1,
well, they didn't.
They didn't.
On the first one.
Oh,
they just took this one out.
Maybe they changed.
And this one was kind of like a code red.
Gotcha.
Or like almost code red.
Yeah.
It wasn't painful yet.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, when I got mine, it was doing the whole like kind of.
That's what mine was doing.
Yeah.
And then it grew like a really black hole on it. So I texted my dentist. I'm like, hey man, so I'm not in pain yet, but can we get this thing out just before I am in pain?
Yeah.
And he was like, yep. So that was fun.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Like I said, I love the dentist.
Yeah.
I love them.
This is great.
They're great.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah. It's, I don't know anyone else that you can pay to put you through a bunch of pain.
I know. So
and be so happy about it.
So good. The shots.
Oh,
so
they're great.
So great.
My problem with with dental offices is that well, dentists in general, is I have a very high tolerance to Novocaine.
Dude, me too.
It sucks.
Yeah, me too.
So
it's the worst.
Bad.
And like 20 minutes in, I'm like, yo, I can feel that. And
Yeah.
they're like, all right, well, we'll give you more. And then like 20 minutes later, I'm like, yep, I can feel it.
What's the most amount of Novocaine? I'm just so interested.
No,
I'm
that's
glad
okay.
someone else
That's
is going through this.
Oh yeah.
So, what's the most amount of Novocaine shots you've ever had during a dental procedure?
Probably when they took out this tooth, only because prior to that all right, so maybe TMI, but my teeth have kind of been a mess. Bad genes.
Yeah,
lots of fun, man. And I'm finally, I'm a musician, so it's not like I can afford health insurance because that's an alien concept, right?
Yeah.
They had filled 2 cavities that day.
Oh yeah.
On the top. Lots of Novocaine there, and then but they've got to give me like 2 doses of Novocaine because they did the one tooth and they started on the other tooth, and I was like, yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah.
So give me more.
Yeah.
I asked nicely.
Well, of course. Yeah.
Of course. And then so did that, and then when they were doing, had to like yank out my tooth, I was like, they like numbed me, and I was like, you know what? How about just a little bit more? And I remember like, so I've been going to OSU dental school because it's super cheap, and they're good.
Right. Yeah.
I've only had a good experience there. Shout outs OSU dental school. And I just remember like the 2 people like looking at each other like, should we give him more?
Yeah.
More? And the girl was like, well, he's in good health otherwise.
Yeah.
So that was probably the most that I've been given. I guess I didn't count how much they gave me, but it was like a solid lot of Novocaine.
I had so the last, it wasn't the last time, it was time before that. I had to get an extraction on my bottom molar, and they gave me 2 because I told them, I was like, never been there before,
right?
I was just like, I needed to get it pulled because it was bad, it was painful, and I was like, I'm very high tolerance to Novocaine. So they're like, oh, we'll give you 2 big shots. So 2 shots in, start feeling a little numb, and as soon as they like started drilling a little bit, I'm like, I can feel that.
Yeah, so they have to give you a
shot.
Like,
you can feel that? And I'm like, yeah. So then they gave me another one.
Yeah.
Wait a little bit, they do the whole that whole thing.
Yeah.
And kept drilling, core the way through. I can feel that. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. So they
Is
gave
this
me
a
another
root canal
one.
that they were doing?
Yeah. Well, it was an extraction because they had to cut it.
Oh, sure.
So like they basically they kind of start as a root canal to thin it out in the center and then like kill the kill
sounds so much fun. Love the dentist.
It's amazing. It's the
best.
I love the dentist.
It's like a water slide.
Long story short, I got 6 shots of Novocaine.
Wow, that's good.
6. That's the most I've ever had.
Yeah,
and that was the most they've ever had given somebody.
Nice.
It was like before that, I think it was like 3.
Oh wow!
So I broke a record.
Nice, congrats.
But yeah, not fun. And the crappy thing is, like, having that much, my face was basically like in my mouth. I could feel it, because it like I can feel the Novocaine numbness in my face.
Sure.
But when somebody's working in my mouth, it doesn't numb the pain.
Yeah, of course.
Why would I could feel that.
Yeah.
Why would it do its job?
Why would it work?
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeans.
Yeah.
So, I get out and I have like, I feel like I had a stroke because it's just like, kind of feeling. And I keep, looking in the mirror to make sure my face isn't drooping because it feels like it. But yeah, high tolerance Novocaine, no fun.
Yeah, it's kind of the worst. I will say when they give me the Novocaine, it does make me super numb, but I just metabolize it super fast.
Yeah.
So mine wears off really fast.
Yeah. Mine just, for some reason, I feel it here, but not in my gums. Like, it doesn't numb the gum for some reason.
Weird.
It takes a lot.
It's dumb.
It is dumb.
I think it's dumb.
Dumb gums.
Yeah. It's stupid. Stupid.
Yeah. That's what I gotta say about that.
Yeah.
Very bohemian.
Yeah. That was a good tangent. I'm glad we had that.
Health's important.
Health is important.
Right.
Go to the dentist.
Go to the dentist. Go to your local torture dentist. You know.
Go to the dentist.
They love you. They really do want to take care of you.
They do.
I think they're masochists. That's just my thing. I don't know.
Oh, sure. so actually one of the dentists, one of his assistants was like, yeah, I was working with a guy and he was like, he literally told me less talking, more drill in my mouth.
Oh my God.
And I was like, he was like, the less you talk and the more time you spend with the drill in my mouth, the better. And I asked him, I was like, do you think he was like saying that as like a joke or like, as in like, listen, man, I just want to get this done and over with? Or was he into it? And he's like, no, he was like he enjoyed it. And I was like, that's weird, man.
Oh my God.
That's weird. I mean, you're into what you're into.
Yeah, it's true.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But
no judge.
It's still an alien concept to me
Yeah.
of enjoying dental work.
Yeah.
To that degree.
I mean, there's people out there that love it. You know, they love, the gum scraping and all that stuff. And, I recoil even saying that. Yeah. But, people that like it. You know, man. I'm not one of them. Nope. I don't know.
Same.
I know your teeth are part of your bones, but, man, I don't like scraping my bones. It's not fun.
Same. Would agree.
On that note, thanks again for coming, man.
Yeah, man.
I really appreciate it.
It was fun.
Thanks for watching and listening if you've been watching. And I'll have links down below for any of your projects that you want to plug. And
sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
See you next time.
Word. Thanks, y'all.